welcome back to my channel. So today I want to give some book recommendations to anybody who would like paranormal romance, fantasy romance, maybe some spice. Maybe you haven't heard of some of these books, but these are some of the books that I absolutely love. So I wanted to kind of give some recommendations, and of course leave me recommendations down in the comments below. Make sure that you like and subscribe to the video, so then that way you can keep coming back for more, getting more book recs, seeing my TBR, and who knows what else. So the very first book that I want to talk about is actually a book that I came across on Facebook. You know how sometimes you're scrolling through and it'll be like a new book that's on Kindle Unlimited, or there'll be like a synopsis, you know, of a book that maybe is kind of the same genre that you've been reading. So this is what happened to me. I kept seeing this ad over and over and over again about this book being available on Kindle Unlimited. So finally I decided, you know what, I'm just going to download it, read it, get it out of my system, because it was just showing up every day. Lo and behold, I actually fell in love with this series so much that I ended up buying all of the books in the series in paperback that were available on Amazon. And then they actually did a cover redo kind of thing where they, you know, made it more appealing, like in different ways, or made it more adult. But I have the original covers and they are stunning. So it is the Shadow Kiss series by T.M. Hart. Now, this is the original cover. I have all four of them. They are wonderful. It is a completed series. It is an adult paranormal steamy romance. There are some trigger warnings in here. It is urban fantasy and paranormal, so definitely make sure that you read about the trigger warnings, about the spice, the steam level, different things like that. But Shadow's Kiss is very, very good. I loved this series. It's one of those Facebook ads that just kept appearing and appearing. And funny enough, a lot of my favorite newfound books, whether they be, a lot of them are indie authors, but whether they be indie authors or traditionally published, come from my Facebook ads. And I don't hardly ever get on Facebook, maybe to like share a meme or something, but I'm on Instagram more than anything. And so whenever this kept coming up, I love this because it looks like kind of like a galaxy. And of course I love, you know, outer space, but it's actually really, really, really good. So I would highly suggest checking out this series. There's 4 books, I believe, in the series. It's finished. It's wonderful. They're not very long, about 345 pages. Not very long. They're pretty quick read. You know, the words aren't too tiny on the book. So if you want a good paranormal urban fantasy with a lot of steam and it's adult-like, pick this one up. So then the next book that I have is a new book. I got it out of a book box. It was from Fairy Loot last year. It was one of their monthly books that came out, and I ended up reading it because I think this is her very first book. Lexi Ryan may not be, but it's new to me, a new author to me, and it's called These Hollow Vows. Now granted, this is the Fairy Loot edition, so this is not what it normally looks like, but it has stenciled edges. It even has, you know, signed by the author. It even came with an author letter. Now, I devoured this book. I love the Fae. I love Fae romance. I love fantasy romance. And this book is about a girl. I actually can't remember her name. Bree. Abriella. Bree. So she is immortal, and she lives with her sister. She is a thief. She steals from the rich and gives to the poor kind of thing, a Robin Hood vibe. But she keeps her sister afloat. She lives with her aunt because her parents are no longer alive. And it's kind of like a Cinderella-esque type thing where she has to clean, she has to cook, but also, you know, she has to pay her aunt a lot of money, like an insurmountable amount that she'll never be able to pay off. So she's always going to be indebted to her. Now, next door, there is a sorcerer or a wizard or a warlock, whatever you want to call him. His name is Sebastian. And he, for the past couple of years has become very close to Bree, where, it's kind of like an escape for her. They're friends. He knows how to talk with her. She's able to lean on him, all of these things. Now, about the Fae, about, the Fae realms and the Seelie and the Unseelie court. You learn about that very quickly. One night, Bree's sister is kidnapped by the Unseelie court king. And so Bree is like, I'm going to the fairy realm. I'm going to get my sister back, whatever it takes. Sebastian says, no, wait. Wait for me. Let me get what I need to get done, and then I will go with you. Well, Bree was not going to wait. That's her sister. So she ends up going to the Unseelie court, making a deal with the king, all of these things. She finds her way into the Seelie court, which she's always known Seelie to be good, Unseelie to be bad. This is a wild ride. It does give me ACOTAR vibes, A Court of Thorns and Roses. It does give me a lot of Sarah J. Maas vibes. But what I loved about this, because the sequel is called These Twisted Bonds. And I actually got an e-arc through NetGalley. And so I was able to read it months ago because it just released in July. And I couldn't wait to see how everything unfolded. Now, I feel like this book series, this duology, could have been a trilogy. Only because the second book had a lot to unpack. There was a lot of things going on. There was a lot of, secrets that were being unveiled. And, I just feel like it was very rushed at the end to get to that conclusion. But I was very satisfied with that conclusion. I was very satisfied with Bree's journey. I was very satisfied with the band of misfits that she finds, that she becomes friends with. It's so, so good. So if you like A Court of Thorns and Roses, if you like, the found family theme, if you like a good fantasy romance with a little bit of spice, not too much, but a little bit, pick up These Hollow Vows. Wonderful book. So the next one that I want to talk about is, I had gotten sent these books from Entangled Publishing a while back, several months ago, and it is a trilogy, but then there's also a spinoff in the Guys version, and it is called Follow Me Darkly by Helen Hart. Now, Follow Me Darkly is the first book, Follow Me Under is the second book, and Follow Me Always is the third book. So that's the trilogy. You can read them, be fine. Then from Braden's point of view, you have Darkly, which is his point of view from the first book. You have Under, which is his point of view from the second book. And then I'm going to assume that they are going to be coming out with Always in Braden's point of view for the third book. So it's actually pretty neat. If you just want to read just the trilogy, it's very satisfying. If you want to read Braden's story, you can read his trilogy as well. Granted, it's the same story, but just from his point of view. So what this book is about is, it is very 50 Shades of Grey-esque, because it is about, BDSM. It's about dominance. You need to read the trigger warnings on these. But what I really liked about this series over the 50 Shades of Grey, which is just pure nothingness, like there was no plot or anything in 50 Shades, this has a plot. It is a girl from Kansas who is living in New York, and she wants to be one of the biggest influencers. So she works with a girl who's very big. She's her assistant. Braden is like her rival type thing. And so she, always posts on these things for her, does all of this. She finds Braden, meets him, and then things kind of go from there. He latches onto her and, doesn't want to let her go. They both have secrets. They both do things to each other that they shouldn't do. She's trying to find out about his past, to the point where I think that point of the story was very overdone. Like, why do we have to keep bringing this up? Either tell us or move on. That was kind of one of the downfalls. But this book series is very good, very erotic, very good, but it has a lot of plot. It has a lot of story in it. I really loved Sky and Braden's story on this. So I was really happy for Entangled for sending this to me because they're not very big, books. I mean, you're looking at like 325 pages for the first book. The words aren't very big. It is very good. Now, what I was upset about is whenever I first started getting the series, they had a white cover with like black and stuff. So the first two books, look a lot different than these books because these are the new covers. But Entangled sent me all of the new covers, so I was very, very happy for that. So I own the first two in the original cover because they never came out with the third one in the original cover. Then they came out with these. So if you want something that gives you 50 Shades of Grey vibes, but doesn't give you just the sex, it actually gives you a story, a plot line, characters that you love, characters that you can root for. Definitely pick up this Follow Me Darkly by Helen Hart. And then the next book, I have the bookish box version of this, but it is Rhapsodic by Laura Thalassa. And now, of course, it has, stenciled edges. It has, custom end papers. It also is signed by Laura. But Rhapsodic is the first book in the Bargainer series. So I went on a thing where I read A Court of Thorns and Roses. Granted, I was late to the game. I just read it like 2 or 3 years ago and then fell in love with the series. So whenever I finally read it, realized that I love fae romances, I kind of went on a Google search. And I was like, what books are similar to A Court of Thorns and Roses, or at least gives you that vibe? This is one of the books that came up, Rhapsodic. And it is about Callie, who is a siren. And she, does something at the very beginning. She summons the bargainer, wants to make a deal with him. So you don't ever want to make a deal with the bargainer, because what the bargainer will do will give you a bead. And then in X amount of time later, he will come to collect his favor. Now, you don't know what he's going to ask you to do. You don't know, if he's going to ask you to kill someone. You don't want to be in debt to the bargainer, but she takes that risk. And so the bargainer gives her a bead, all that. She ends up carrying on a friendship with the bargainer. And his name is Desmond. And she ends up throughout her whole college life and stuff for 6 or 7 years. They are always together. Not always, but I mean for the most part. She leans on him. She confides in him. She's able to be his friend. In the whole time, he keeps making deals with her. So by the time that, you get to the end of their friendship before the real story starts, she has a whole arm full of beads of 300 or 400 beads of favors that she owes to the bargainer. Now, everybody says you don't want to be in debt to him, but he has never made her do anything that, she shouldn't do. So she trusts him until one night she says something to Desmond. Desmond says something to her, whatever. And then he leaves. And he's gone for 7 years. Not a word, doesn't show up, doesn't collect or anything. And then out of nowhere, one day, Callie is coming home. There's Desmond. He has come to collect his bargain. All of his bargains. And so now she is mad at him because he's been gone for 7 years without a word. She doesn't want to go along with it. She's fighting him on it. That's where the story gets going. And you follow Callie and Des throughout this story. The first book really kind of does a dual timeline where some chapters you're in the present with what Callie and Des are going through now. And then there are some parts, some chapters where it is 8 years ago, 9 years ago when they were friends. And by the time you get to the end of the first book, you find out what actually happened that made Desmond be gone for 7 years. And he is the king of the night court. So, you got Rhysand vibes. But he is so much darker, so much broodier, so much, less guilty in what he wants. And he just takes what he wants. And that's what I love. It's a darker version, but I can't compare it to A Court of Thorns and Roses because even though you have similarities, he's the king of the night court. You have, fae politics that you're navigating. I would not compare this because both are entirely different and in good ways. A Court of Thorns and Roses has its pros for what is so amazing about it. This does as well. I feel like this is darker. I love the romance in it. It is, oh my goodness, spicy. But Rhapsodic is definitely a series that you would want to read if you like fae romance, if you like A Court of Thorns and Roses, if you like dark romance. Check trigger warnings as well. Then the next one comes from an indie author that I found and I absolutely love, Jamie Schlosser. Now, this is called The Fae King's Curse. There are 3 books and a novella. No, I take that back. There's 4 books now and a novella in this. Now, these can be read as standalones, but I highly recommend you start with this one first because it gives you a lot of the backstory. It introduces the characters that will be coming into play later on. So definitely pick this up. So what really drew me in to this book by Jamie is it is a fae romance, but it also plays on a disability. Kieran is blind. He can't see. And so what I really liked about that is the disability of it, because you always think that fae are perfect, that they have nothing wrong with them. He is blind. He actually meets, what was her name in this book? I can't remember what her name was, and I'm really sad about it. But what really happens is he stumbles across a mortal girl. And once a year, actually every day for her, he shows up for a certain amount of time. They hang out. They become best friends. Now, she realizes that he's blind. Over the years, she notices that he is getting much older while she's, not getting as old as quickly. So whenever she's finally old enough, I think she's 18, she's getting ready to go away to college, so she's saying bye to Kieran. And he has told her about the curse, that he is not allowed to kiss or be intimate with anyone until he finds his soulmate, essentially. And if he tries to kiss anybody or be intimate, he will be locked in the curse forever if it is not his mate. So she ends up saying, I got to go to college. I got to go away. He kisses her and steals her away to go to the Fae realm. Now she is mad at him because now he has locked himself into being blind for the rest of his life. And to watch their story unfold and to watch, how Kieran deals with his blindness, deals with the fact that he's going to have that for the rest of his life. It is so amazing. The Fae King's Dream is the second one. It is about Damon, who is part of the Dream Court, and him finding his mate. The Fae King's Prize is about the King of the Day Court, and they're all friends. So you meet them along the way. And then the Fae King's Princess, or the Fae Princess's Warrior is what it's called, is the newest book that just came out. And I can't tell you who it's about because it gives away some plot and some spoilers, but it's definitely such a good one. So Jamie Schlosser did an amazing job. I reached out to her and begged her if she would sign these for me if I sent them to her. So thank you, Jamie, for that. But this is a great fae romance. And finally, the last book that I want to talk about, which I'm sure all of you know about, is Kingdom of the Curse by Carrie Maniscalco. Now, this is the Fairy Loot version, so it has, stenciled edges. It is signed by Carrie Maniscalco. So, in this book, you have Amelia, and she is, she likes to cook. She has all of these dreams and different things. Her sister ends up going missing or dead. And she calls on, she's told never to call on the princes of hell. What does she do? She calls on a prince of hell. And who does she get? She gets Wrath. Now, her and Wrath are trying to solve this mystery of what happened to her sister. She's trying to keep, him under wraps because she doesn't want her family knowing that she has reached out to a prince of hell and actually has him, walking around the mortal realm. She makes a lot of deals, different things happen. This book is really good. It's so dark. I really liked Amelia because she didn't take, anyone's, crap, basically. She would find her own way, do her own thing. She stood up to Wrath time and time again, despite him being, a prince of hell. She makes a deal at the end, which then goes on to Kingdom of the Wicked, because she makes a deal to marry the devil in order to try to get her sister back, because she needs to navigate the 7 circles of hell, trying to find her sister for things that you find out in this. So really, really liked it. I can't really give a whole lot of things because I don't want to spoil anything, but it was so, so good. It came out of nowhere. I have never read anything by Carrie Maniscalco. I do have the Stalking Jack the Ripper series on my TBR, and it's been on there for quite a while. I don't know if I'm ever going to get to it because I've heard ups and downs with it. I like a lot of heavy romance in my books. Despite it being paranormal or fantasy or mystery, it has to have a lot of romance. And I just don't know if Stalking Jack the Ripper does, or if it's more of a Sherlock Holmes-esque mystery book. So if you know, definitely let me know if it's worth reading or not. But absolutely love Kingdom of the Cursed, Kingdom of the Wicked, and Kingdom of the Feared, I believe has already just came out. So pretty excited for that. But those are some recommendations that I have of, books that I have enjoyed over the years, books that I have found. And sorry, my cat is making a lot of noise. But other than that, if you have any recommendations based on any of those, definitely let me know. Also, check out my Bookstagram that I have below. Check out my Enchanted Rose author services. We do have giveaways, we have ARCs, we have book tours. So check all of those out. And if you want to reach out to me on those platforms, talk books with me, definitely do that as well. But until next time, make sure you like and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye.